Hey guys, it's Monday, February 20th, and this is Newswave. So the first big thing we'll talk about is the biggest story of the weekend, and probably still happening today, of course, because everyone's still speculating on it, and that is, of course, the big Nintendo Switch disassembly that took place. Now, this was a website in China that took it apart, took all the pictures. It's a site that seems to tear these things down and then sell the parts off, and it's more than likely been determined that this is probably a defective unit that they have received and they're going to, of course, take it apart and then resell all the working parts. And of course, during the teardown, we have pictures of the actual chip and the die, and everyone is now scrambling to try to figure out what it is, and it's seeming more and more like it is actually a new revision of the Tegra X1, more than likely, that shares similar traits to what it would have been if it was Pascal. Of course, it's not Pascal, more than likely, but there is a lot of stuff we still don't know, and we need x-rays and actual scans of the chip to determine how close it is to the regular X1 or how close it is to possibly a Pascal chip. Like I said, there's still a lot we don't know, and it's going to come down to what those scans show us. I also found out that the Switch itself internally is built very well. They're definitely using good quality parts. This tablet part itself, the main unit, is very well built, so there's not a lot of risk there involved when buying it. It also has a very large heatsink, and the battery appears to be easily replaceable compared to what original thought was, where maybe it's soldered to the board or hidden under a bunch of circuit boards or something. The battery is in plain view when you take the back off. That story will probably continue going forward, and I'll keep you guys updated in case any updates or anything is found out. And what is finally a relief to everyone, it appears that the Nintendo purchases you make on the eShop will actually be tied to your main account. And of course, this has been a big problem with Nintendo consoles, handhelds in particular, and the Wii U for a while now, including the Wii, because you could buy something and it's not tied to your account. So it was a whole issue going back through and trying to get these purchases back if like your 3DS went missing or it got damaged to the point where you couldn't turn it on anymore. There were so many issues doing that with customer service, trying to get it all figured out. It was so much easier, obviously, on the Xbox One, PS4, even PS3 and Xbox 360, where the purchases were tied to your account. So if you end up on a different Xbox or a different PlayStation, you sign in and you can then download all of your games again. Well, according to the NeoGAF user who ended up getting a Switch early by whatever means they ended up getting it by, we'll get to that in a second, they actually found a statement in the system that read, "Your Nintendo account contains your Nintendo eShop purchase history and current balance. By relinking your Nintendo account after initializing the console, it will be possible to re-download any software or DLC purchased using that account." And this is good, obviously, because it's a big step forward for Nintendo, which, again, is a little odd to say since it's been like this for a while on other systems. It's just good that now we don't have to have that headache if you bought a game on the eShop and you're worried if your system goes missing that you may have been out the money you purchased that with, obviously, because you can't get your game back. Now it looks like it'll be much more current. You have an account, your stuff's tied to it, and you just sign in like normal, probably email address or even username, password, and you're good to go. So this was a really cool video that kind of popped up on YouTube under, I first saw it under Distify's YouTube account. Now, I don't know if this was something they found or maybe they reposted it. Either way, it looks to be from the event. There was probably a live stream that NIS America, NIS, however you want to pronounce it, America actually showed off their Disgaea game on the Switch, and they go and they pop the Joy-Cons back in, and you hear a familiar sound.
本体にガシャスイッチはいしますと
So yes, now, of course, everyone's just going to be doing that from now on. That's probably like a 100-hour game on its own. People just popping the Joy-Cons in and out. It's interesting to note, though, when I was playing the Switch at the Nintendo event, that was not the case. Even that screen jump where it kind of tells you on the side, it kind of brightens a little bit, gives you an indication of it being attached. That wasn't the case at the event I went to. This maybe is added to the final build of the OS before it goes out. If that's the case, that's awesome. Or maybe that's only in-game it does it. I'm not sure. But either way, that is an awesome touch. And I have a feeling those rails are going to get worn out very quickly from people just popping the Joy-Cons on and off over and over again. Like I said, that's probably to a lot of people is a 100-hour game on its own. And we finally got some good looks at the Final Fantasy VII Remake that's coming up. The big game we're all looking forward to, of course, to be able to replay Final Fantasy VII in ridiculous graphics, obviously. Remember seeing the trailer for it. Screenshots and everything for it were really big at the time. And now we actually get some new direct 1080p screenshots, and this comes from the Magic Monaco 2017 event, and it was shown off by Tetsuya Nomura, where they talked about Final Fantasy VII and showed, like I said, screenshots from the early boss battle with that big mechanical scorpion. And this is the battle right in the beginning of the game when you're kind of storming the factory and you're attacking one of the reactors. You end up fighting this big scorpion. Of course, probably don't need to tell you guys that. I'm sure you know. But we actually get some really cool looks at this boss, and then we also see some stuff from the battle system, which includes a menu that strangely has materia in it, which is odd. It says attack, magic, materia, and then item, of course. And it also shows them having HP that is very high for this stage of the game. I mean, at this time, they were both right around the 300 to 400 HP mark in the original game, but in this game, they both have well over 1,000 HP. And those are just a few things to kind of point out here as we look at these screenshots. Now, the thing that's kind of a shame here is Nomura actually wanted to show full video of this fight, like this actual event happening, but for some reason he was vetoed. That whole decision was vetoed by what says to be his colleagues or his coworkers. What that means is probably the video footage that they had or the gameplay footage they had was not complete. Maybe it looked a little rough and they didn't want to show it off to the public to be scrutinized and say that it's a junky game or something. That's probably what happened. Or maybe there were parts that were unfinished. They didn't want to set off a glitch in front of everyone. It wasn't tested enough, but it's a shame because that means we were this close to seeing the battle system in action, and it would have been really cool to see that. Oh, and they also decided to show a screenshot of Kingdom Hearts 3 for some odd reason, maybe just to tease us further, but here it is. So there's that. I guess they haven't forgotten about that game yet. That's awesome. Hopefully we see it at E3, and maybe we actually get some gameplay and full footage and hopefully a release date. But I'm not holding my breath for that one. So we talked about how that Switch was sold or shipped early to the user, Hip Hop the Robot, and of course they went on to show us all kinds of stuff about the Switch. That's great. Turns out, though, those systems were stolen, and by systems I mean apparently more than just that one made its way out of a factory. More than likely, it was removed from like a distribution center because Nintendo, well, at least a representative from Nintendo, made a statement about this event. This is from a Nintendo representative, as reported by IGN and several other news sites. So here we go. Earlier this week, individuals claimed to prematurely purchase a small number of Switch systems from an unspecified retailer. Nintendo has determined these units were stolen in an isolated incident by employees of a U.S. distributor, with one system being illegally resold. Sounds familiar, right? The individuals involved have been identified, terminated from their place of employment, and are under investigation by local law enforcement authorities on criminal charges. So at this point, yes, it looks like somehow Hip Hop the Robot bought the system from a third party that got that from then another third party that was probably stolen from a distributing center. It sounds like it was actually, I guess, a pretty elaborate heist there. They, I guess, decided we're going to take some Switches and then we'll resell them for a decent amount of money, and then somehow Hip Hop the Robot came into possession of it. I have a feeling that when they put that up on the internet for everyone to see and that thing gained like 1 million views in 1 hour or something crazy, yes, Nintendo probably became aware. There was part of the video, I think, where the barcode is flashed, probably the serial number as well, and at that point it was just connecting the dots for Nintendo to figure out where they came from. But yes, it sounds like everything, I guess, is back to normal for the March 3rd launch. It sounds like all of these Switches have been retrieved and people who, I guess, stole them have been dealt with, so at this point it's just on to release day. And we had a press event from NIS America over the weekend, and they announced a ton of games for all different systems. Some of the biggest ones, though, that we saw were Ys 8, Danganronpa V3, and Concept Revolt for the 3DS, which was interesting. We also got word that Disgaea 5 Complete, which will contain all of the DLC from the PS4 version, will release on the Switch May 23rd of 2017. I talked about this before. If you have not tried Disgaea, it's on Steam. It runs on pretty much any computer at this point. It's an awesome strategy RPG, and if you have not played it, I recommend you try it out. But yes, Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony will release September 26th, and that's going to be on the PS4 and the Vita. Concept Revolt will make its way to the 3DS sometime over the summer. They didn't really give us an exact date. They just said summer 2017, so I'd keep an eye out for that if you were interested in that one. And then the big one, of course, Ys 8 will be coming out sometime in the fall on the PS4, the Vita, and Windows. Interesting to see that NIS America has not forgotten about Vita, unlike Sony, who seems to have just completely forgotten about their own system in this case. And thanks to NeoGAF, once again, we get to see exactly what's inside one of those cases when you buy a Nintendo Switch game. These photos were posted on Twitter and then taken down. I assume they were for some reason in trouble. But it did show up on NeoGAF, and then a lot of people did manage to grab the screenshots and different pictures of these. This shows us Bomberman R in its complete glory in the case and everything taken out, and then even flipped over so we can see what the back of the cartridge actually looks like. It's interesting to note that the game does not appear to come with a manual, and when flipped over, it's a very proprietary or very interesting looking game card on the back with all of the pins very exposed. But overall, it looks good. I mean, I think the case probably is a little too large. They could have made it smaller, but really, I guess being the side of a PSP case isn't that small anyway. I mean, if you get it too small, then the case will probably get lost. But I do like this. It's reversible cover art. It looks good. And you know what? I'm going to be collecting mostly physical copies on the Switch, so I look forward to building a nice little collection on my bookshelf here with all these different games. I will say I do miss manuals. I wish they still came with games, but I understand there's a few things with, you know, environment and all that stuff. Don't want to waste paper when you just put it on the game now. I just, you know what, I just kind of miss it. It was something I really looked forward to back in the day to get a manual with my game. And that's it for Newswave today, guys. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know what you think about any of the stories talked about today. Maybe you enjoyed seeing Final Fantasy VII Remake. Maybe you wanted to see it as a video instead of screenshots. I know I did. Maybe you enjoyed the NIS America conference that they had. Maybe there was a couple games on there you liked. Let me know about that down below as well. And maybe, you know what, maybe you enjoy that Switch sound so much you just want to tell us about it down in the comments. Let me know, guys. I will see you next time.